All right, so this is what's really cool about bringing in a vector into Photoshop is you can put layer styles on it that will be just as clean as your vector. And so I'm just doing a simple white stroke. I think I'm going to put it right there because the negative shapes it leaves are not distracting, right? So it's a 57 pixel stroke, but that's just for this exact 8 by 10 at 350 pixels per inch that I've done. Now let's say, so I'll say okay, and then I can turn that stroke on and off, right? And on white, of course, it doesn't matter at all. Other effects I can add. I'll show you on gray. A drop shadow. But let's just keep it solid black. And when I do logo design, I like to stick to only web colors. Just keep it really basic so I can always pick black and white. And I can play with multiply mode, a spread, and a distance. Right, kind of playing with the sticker idea. This is helping that logo to show up, right? Maybe I'll take the opacity down a little bit. Now, when I show it on white, I see the stroke edges, right? And all of that's just on top of our clean vector. But it's nice. I like that logo. It's like cut out paper. Okay, what if you want to try something else? Well, let me make a duplicate of all of that, and we'll duplicate all the layer effects, turn that off, and then change the effects. Maybe I don't want the stroke. Maybe I don't want the drop shadow. Okay, but instead, what do I want? I want to have a glow. So instead of a hard edge, kind of a sticker outline stroke, I want to have it glow out from the edge. And I can make that kind of softer or harder. So this is like a Halloween logo. I can make it noisy, which is kind of nice. Give it some texture. These are all ways to offset your design so they show up on dark backgrounds. I can play with the opacity and just make it a slight gray. And then I can add in the stroke. So I have to make this a lot bigger so it shows up, right? But then I can also add back in the stroke and add in the drop shadow. You know, it's just, you get to play a lot with these different versions. I like the slight noise. Maybe like that is nice. So how does that look on black? How does it look on gray? How does it look on white? So I think my favorite is this. And now by layering them up, you see how my drop shadow has a little bit of that glow in it? Right? Which makes it even more custom, which is kind of nice. So I think this is the one I'm going to save. So how do I save it? Well, I save it first as my PSD file. So this is Karl assign black logo to PSD. And then I save it as a JPEG. Actually, no, I don't save it as a JPEG. Sorry, cancel. I save it without the background, but with all the effects. And I save it as a PNG to put to PhotoBucket. Because I want that transparency. I don't want just the white background behind it. So that's what's going to go into PhotoBucket. And we put that into Digital Art 1, into Digital Assignments, and into Assignment 6. And I'm going to put mine into Instructional Examples. And the other thing we put in is our sketches. Okay. So let me do that quick. Just put the PNG in, just so you can see how it looks as a transparent file. Okay, while that's going on, I can show you how I can add color in the same way. So just like I could add strokes, I'm going to put it on a gray background for now. I can play with color overlays. And I can pick a color. Yeah, the blue, why not, right? And I'll put that at 77%. And now I have a blue bool, right? And then I can do, in more effects, I can do a gradient overlay, just like when we did the sky. And I can maybe make it go warm to cool, put its opacity up, have it be linear. Really show its scale, and then take that color overlay, make that a lot more subtle. Or just turn it off. Right? Or you can just really play with all of this. Well, it's a vector, you can still do this. So color overlay, I can set to a dissolve blending mode, which will kind of stipple it and give it some texture. Like that. So that might be a good color option. What else can I do? So this is how it looks on white. I'm not seeing the color so much on the projector, but it's there. Let me make it a little bit more clear by getting rid of the color overlay. With your gradient, you can set different angles. Right? I like that the pitchfork looks like it's glowing almost. And of course, you can set different settings, different amounts. Actually, soft light's pretty nice. Just gives a little hint more. And of course, you can set your gradients as well and make them more complicated if you like. Like I said, I like to use web colors mostly. Keep it a little bit more simple to make sure it will show up online well. But I can always add another layer in this gradient should I want to. Kind of mess with the arrangement of things. That's pretty nice. Yeah, I like that. All right. And then the last thing you can do is you can play with texturing and bevel and embossing. And what that does, you have to kind of zoom in to see, but you can get to the individual options. The bevel and emboss will give it a highlight on the top edge of your vector shape and a shadow on the bottom edge. And then the texture, which I recommend very often when you're showing off logos, right? Because it makes it look like it's printed on paper. The texture will give it a slight bump, and you can control that using scale and depth here. And so this might be my color option. So I'm going to save it again as a PSD because this has now my black and white options and my, right? and my color options, all just using the same black shape vector. And they should all look good on any background, on black, on gray, on white. And then to upload my color version, I turn everything off in the background and I save as a PNG, but it's no longer the black logo. Now it's the assignment 6 color logo. Okay, so I made 2 logos. So I'm going to show you all those steps again. And I'll go ahead and upload that. See, did it load in my other one? Still working on it. All right, so I have these 2 PNGs so far. Right? You see how they're transparent? There's no background around them, but they have a stroke so they'll show up on different settings. Okay, next I'm going to do it with my other logo. Same steps. And I'll save the PSD. So I open up my other PSD. And what's the first thing I do? I duplicate the background 2 more times. I fill one at the top with black. I fill the one underneath that with gray. 50% gray. This way I can make sure my logo looks good on all surfaces. Then I double click my logo layer to get to layer styles and I turn on a stroke. Right? And I pick how big that stroke should be or how small. Now for this design, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller because I want that fork not to get, actually no, I won't. This works pretty well. Just really big sticker, or if I can live with the negative shapes, that. I think I like this. And then, if I want, I can play with, because I've got the stroke in there, I might shrink it down a little bit more. But I can play with drop shadow if I want. Just make it pretty subtle. And I could play with glow if I wanted that, but I don't think I do for this. Yep, so that's how it looks. That's just fine. Maybe I expand that drop shadow a little bit more. Just so it shows the top edge as well. There we go. I just have a tiny bit of noise in there. So that's going to show up well. So then I turn off the background and I save that as a PNG. And I know it will show up on dark backgrounds to the desktop. All the defaults. And this is what that looks like. Very good. Next, I can add color. So I'm going to make a duplicate of it, turn off the one underneath, and add to the effects the color overlay, the gradient overlay, and different options. You save it as a PNG with the backgrounds turned off. So this looks pretty dramatic. Right? So maybe I'll do something like that. And then I'll play with the texture and the bevel and emboss. And maybe make this texture a lot more noticeable by scaling it up. Because it feels like it's for a barbecue restaurant or something.